What's up everyone, welcome to today's video, welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So today, before we jump into the video, I wanted to take a moment to say thanks to everyone who jumped into the last video that we talked about Jason and some of his mystical powers, looking at the comics, and it's been a very interesting conversation. In fact, on Twitter the conversation is still brewing all over the place. Many people have their opinions and so on and so forth, and I think that's pretty much what this community needs to continue to just talk about the game as it is or it's been presented. Now on today's agenda is pretty much the showcase of the open world of Gotham Knights that was actually dropped by IGN today. This, in my opinion, is what I term a huge indictment against Marvel's Avengers comparisons. Now, for the longest time, I have taken just a little bit of patience to ignore a lot of these comparisons that I've seen with Gotham Knights and Marvel's Avengers. A lot of folk will come around on videos and say things like, oh, this game feels like another Avengers. Sometimes they say it in a concerning way, and that concern is actually genuine, by the way. But then sometimes you have some who are coming in spite, maybe with some little bit of vitriol, and they just want to maybe rub it in. And all in all, I welcome comments, and so I usually smile or laugh to some of these, depending on how they're actually, presented. And I think today's open world design showcase really did drop a huge hammer, pun intended, on Marvel's Avengers comparisons. Because these comparisons always usually go along the lines of, well, this just feels like Avengers 2.0, but I guess the way this open world is unified, coherent, and consistent actually throws away that accusation for the most part. So we look at the open world design of Marvel's Avengers, and what you're going to see is Marvel's Avengers takes an arena-based approach to its world and level design. So you're sent on a mission with the other Avengers of your choosing, if you're using AI or if you're matchmaking with other people, and you guys go and achieve some kind of a goal that is actually in some arena. And when I played the game, I don't know if things have changed now, the game just sent you on missions to specific areas or geographical settings, which sometimes were the same for different missions and different goals. So usually you were not necessarily playing very similar mission types, you were playing similar mission types in similar arenas and areas. And a lot of places did not necessarily have a very specific location. They'd just be something like Utah. Whereas in Gotham Knights, the open world is a cohesion of the storytelling from the rich lore of the Batman universe. So this is already what makes the open world distinct. Now that the developers have taken some time to show us the way the open world has been built based on different layers, they actually had the lead level designer come and talk about some of the philosophy of the design. I feel like it's safe for us to say that Marvel's Avengers comparison, at least on the same pattern with open world design, needs to be thrown out of the window very easily. Another thing that even makes me much more interested in this world comparison is the fact that Gotham, in its own right, has been represented in some sense in some of the other games, maybe portions of Gotham itself. If you look at the Arkham games, they represented, say, the Asylum, they represented the portion of Arkham, and in this case, Gotham is going to be built from a full-scale perspective that the developers are able to represent. This is very important because this allows for the entire city to be used as a fertile ground for all kinds of activities, gameplay progression, and possibly end game activities that will keep the player coming back to the game and potentially have a mini GTA feel. Please, I said mini. Someone's going to jump in the comments and say it is not like GTA. I get it. But it is some sort of a feel of a world that you can come back to and continue to interact with. Maybe not to the level of GTA, but I think this is also where the co-op side can come into play, because even if you wanted to go ahead and solo the entire game with your favorite knight, what does it look like trying to solo the entire game, say, for the third time? Can you imagine if that's probably going to get monotonous, and if maybe the co-op side can make it more of a fun experience where at the stage maybe you're picking your third least favorite knight to maybe level up and so on and so forth, you're able to join other people who are willing to maybe help you run missions and kind of remove the boredom that can set in. In Marvel Avengers, when I played, it was just a grind. You just had to do these different things and level up one of your Avengers and then potentially go back again and try to do the same thing over and over again with other Avengers in a world that didn't necessarily seem to be well stitched with the story and somewhat of what the presentation should have been for a game like that. And on watching this particular presentation, something started to strike a chord in my mind, because this level of detail in marketing and presentation is somewhat akin to some other video games that I've seen from another publisher, and that's Ubisoft. This is classic Ubisoft style marketing of their video games that are built as open world games. Could it be that one of the reasons Warner Brothers Games hired Patrick Redding is because he is well versed in actually making video games that have this kind of scale? And for those of you who may or may not know, Patrick Redding actually came from Ubisoft to work at Warner Brothers Games Montreal around the 2014 calendar season. If you look at his professional work history, you're going to see that he's been involved with some really critical video games in Ubisoft. And at the time that he was actually coming to join Warner Brothers Games Montreal, there seems to have been listed on his resume an unannounced game that he was actually working on at Ubisoft. So looking at the way Gotham Knights is carefully and, in a sense, specifically curating a lot of the aspects of this game to appeal to the entire audience, and even at the same time to appeal to specific audiences, or at least people who are interested in some aspects of the game, it reminds me very much as to how Ubisoft usually does their marketing. Not saying that Warner Brothers has not done anything like this in some of their other games. It just seems to stand out to me, and I can't help myself but draw these conclusions. So anyways, for those of you who got to see this particular open world design philosophy and discussion, I felt it necessary that we talked about the way the open world is being represented, and actually also discuss how other games that may be compared to Gotham Knights, like Marvel's Avengers, may not necessarily stand as a good comparison, because Marvel's Avengers did have its issues fundamentally from its design. And for the longest time, when we didn't have much information about Gotham Knights, we thought that it would somewhat adopt the philosophy of Marvel's Avengers. But over time, it appears that Gotham Knights already had its own philosophy geared to a specific direction. And as much as it may resound in a sense to some people that it's more of an Avengers style game, it apparently is not from what it is that we're seeing, and especially from the open world perspective. So thanks so much for watching the video. I really appreciate you guys' time and audience. Thanks for all of your support. You guys have driven the channel to close to 6,000 subs. As of my recording of this video, I think we're 8 subs away. So I really want to just say thank you very much to this community. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. I really appreciate you guys so much. Peace out.